What if every starter Pokemon had a regional variant evolution like the starters in Pokemon Legends Arceus? This is a question I have explored in a couple videos on my channel already, and today I am going to be continuing to explore this idea by covering even more of the starters that I haven't touched on yet, and giving them regional variants of my very own. Let's check it out. So this video is being brought to you today by the very mascot of this channel himself, Folkachi, and his brand new Plush. Lots of people have grabbed this plush for themselves already, and you can too by going to HoopsandHipHop.com with the link in the description. This plush is super soft, squishy, adorable, and high quality, as I spent over a year developing it. Not to mention, it's also a character of my very own that has made it into plush form, which is honestly like the coolest thing ever. And if you enjoy videos like this one and all the content I'm able to make for you guys, you can support it and help it to keep happening by picking up a Folkachi plush with that link below. It would help the channel immensely, it is a great way to support, and it's extremely appreciated. And you also get an amazing plush out of it that's already being loved by a bunch of people already. So it's honestly like the ultimate win-win. So pick one up for yourself today and help support the channel by going to HistrobiShop.com with the link below. And now, back to the Fakemon. So first things first, the artwork of these designs, as usual, was done by my good friend Oscar Belmonte, so be sure to check him out with the links in the description if you haven't yet. Second, we left off last time at Gen 6, so we've got the starters from Gens 7 through 9 left to cover. Decidueye already got a regional variant in Legends Arceus, so that leaves 8 starters left to explore here. In the past, I covered 3 generations or 9 starters per video, but this time I am going to cover 4 of the 8 that we have left, and then do the other 4 in another video, because frankly, doing 8 or even 9 designs for one video is a lot, and makes the videos more difficult to do, which is why I've had to wait this long since the last video to do this one. And it also just makes the videos longer, and I think I'd just prefer them to be a little shorter than they have been to this point for those who might not want to watch a super long video. With that said though, the 4 of our 8 remaining starters I have decided to cover in today's video are going to be in no particular order, just to spice things up a bit. And the first one we're going to look at is Inteleon. This is what a regional variant Inteleon could look like if we ever got one, and this one in particular would probably come from the Unova region, if not another American region based on the western United States, because it is based on a Wild West outlaw. The OG Inteleon is obviously based on a spy, and in particular James Bond, as it is meant to represent a theme of movies as a part of the Galar starter's larger overall theme of entertainment, with Cinderace based on sports and Rillaboom on music. As such, this regional Inteleon goes from one genre of movies to another, and is now inspired by westerns. It of course still has to keep that gunslinger inspiration though, which is why it also swaps the spy motif for one of an outlaw, which is where the western vibe originates in the first place. Being based on an outlaw also makes this version of Inteleon a water dark type instead of just pure water, which I think is really nice since the monotypes of the Galar starters is something that many people were disappointed with. So adding another type with a variant gives Inteleon a much needed boost in my opinion. I've also given it a new signature move as well, known as Deadeye. This is a Dark-type move that goes along with Inteleon's newly acquired Dark typing that has a base power of 90 and the added effect that it will never miss. As for those who don't know, Deadeye is a term that is used to refer to someone who is a really good shot with a gun. It also just sounds cool and makes for a good name of a Dark-type move in my opinion, so there's that too. And that is a regional variant of Inteleon for you. I'm not really a fan of the original Inteleon personally, but something like this would definitely get me to warm up to it a lot. And I think that this shows that Inteleon has a lot of potential to turn into something cool if it ever did in fact get the regional variant treatment. Now let's take a look at another one of the Galar starters and highlight Cinderace. This is what a regional variant of Cinderace could look like if that ever happens, and when it comes to Cinderace, its regional variant is a golden opportunity that's just waiting to be taken advantage of. This would also probably be another Univan form as well if it ever happened, as since Cinderace is obviously based on soccer, or football, as they call it in the UK, the number one option for a regional variant Cinderace, as far as I'm concerned, is one based on American football. Like, that's just so perfect in my opinion that it's just begging to be made. That is naturally what has caused the changes to Cinderace's design here as well, as its fur is now shaped more like a football uniform, with pads and all, than a soccer uniform. And we also tried to make it look a little more creative, for lack of a better term, since I have always personally thought that the soccer elements of Cinderace were applied in the most basic, straightforward way possible that doesn't really blend very well with the rabbit inspiration, in my opinion. So, while it is still Cinderace at the end of the day, and is going to look similar to the original, we at least attempted to make it look like the football elements were blended in just a little bit better, and I think it ultimately turned out pretty good. Additionally, in order to give this variant a bigger visual difference compared to the original, which always makes variants more fun in my opinion, I based it on a brown-coated rabbit compared to the white of the original, which I thought was also a natural choice for a regional variant of a rabbit Pokemon such as this. And I also just like how all of the colors blend together here too, and think it makes for a really cool look. When it comes to its typing, don't hate me for this, but it becomes firefighting, because honestly, what other type would it become as a football player? I mean, seriously. I know we hate firefighting starters now, but the football element for Cinderace is too perfect, and the fighting type is like the type for a football-based Pokemon. So at least this time around, it's got some good justification. Finally, the signature move that I'm giving to this variant Cinderace is going to be known as Interception, and it would be a fighting type move that would basically be a fighting type version of Sucker Punch. It would hit with 90 base power and would gain priority and move first if a damage dealing move was about to be used by your opponent. It'll probably be a while before we get a regional variant Cinderace, if we do at all, but this is the perfect concept to base it around, in my opinion, if that ever happens. And if it was something like this, I think that would be pretty cool. Now that we've covered a water type and a fire type, let's cover a grass type. But we're gonna save Rillaboom for later and look at Meowscarada instead. Since it's so new, it probably won't be getting a regional variant anytime soon, but if it ever does, it could look something like this. This variant of Meowscarada is a grass psychic type, and while it is still a magician, the type of cat that it is based on is what changes here, as it goes from a lynx to a lion. I felt like the magician thing was pretty entrenched into Meowscarada's design, so this is the route I ultimately opted for, but it ended up working out in a really fun way in my opinion. One thing that is striking about this design is that Meowscarada is now partially white. This is a reference to the famous magicians Siegfried and Roy, who on top of being famous magicians, were also most well known for using white lions and tigers during their performances. So this one came together pretty nicely in my opinion. It also is Psychic type now instead of Dark, in case you couldn't tell, because it is still a magician, and Psychic is obviously a really natural typing for that sort of inspiration. But since it lacks the Dark element this time around, and along with its white coloration, you could also say that this Meowscarada is more of a heroic, noble magician compared to the regular Meowscarada's more trickster-like nature. And that also goes well with it being based on a lion, who are also seen as very noble. So this design actually does fit together really well in my opinion, all things considered. The signature move I have decided to give it is a Psychic type move going along with its new typing, known as Final Act. This move would be 80 base power, so a little lower than the other moves I've featured here, but if Meowscarada's HP is low and in the red zone, the power of this move will be doubled. It's kind of interesting and challenging in a way to redesign a Pokemon like this that's still so new, but overall, I think this is a pretty solid possibility for what a Meowscarada regional variant could be. Alright, so we've taken a look at Gen 8 and Gen 9's starters so far, so now let's take a look at one of the Gen 7 starters who wasn't as lucky as Decidueye and doesn't already have a regional variant. Primarina. This is what a regional variant of Primarina could look like, and as someone who does not like Primarina at all, I actually love how this design turned out, and I would legitimately use this on my team. That is the power of regional variants and why they're so cool, and with Primarina, things just worked out really well, because its design and inspiration was able to be translated into a variant really perfectly. Primarina is a singing Pokemon and is based around sirens and opera singers, so I thought that a great basis for a regional Primarina would be a Banshee. A Banshee is a female spirit, similar to Primarina's female aesthetic, that doesn't sing, but it does shriek, shout, scream, and yell, which is in the same kind of ballpark, and that not only makes for a good inspiration for a variant, but a Banshee is a really cool concept that would be a good inspiration for any Pokemon, so it's kind of a double whammy. This ultimately proved to pair with Primarina's design really well also, as you can obviously see here, and it also makes it a water ghost type Pokemon in this new form, which is also a really cool type combination. For its signature move, it would learn a new ghost type move known as Shrieking Sorrow. This move would represent Primarina's Banshee inspiration, with Banshees being known for their screaming as a way of foretelling the death of a family member of those who hear its screams. As such, Shrieking Sorrow would be a 50 base power move, but with a huge additional effect. If this move makes contact with the same Pokemon 3 times, that Pokemon will instantly faint on the 3rd time this move is used. I know that's pretty powerful, but I think it would be a really fun move to use, and would kind of flip the battle on its head in terms of strategy once the move was brought out. I imagine the counter would reset if the targeted Pokemon was switched out, meaning that this would also be a good move to use to put your opponent on their heels and disrupt their strategy and force them to constantly switch out their Pokemon. But the move itself would probably have to be pretty low on PP as a result, probably only having around 10 at the most. If this was real, it would probably be one of my favorite starter Pokemon ever, which is kinda crazy to say considering the regular Primarina is one of my least favorite. But as I said, that is why we should definitely get more starter regional variants, because the potential is crazy. And now, I want to know what you guys think about these variants. Let me know in the comments below, and be sure to leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe for more if you're new, so I can get working on that next video for the last 4 starters we have not covered as soon as possible. Also, be sure to pick up a Folkachi plush with the link in the description, because that is the kind of thing that allows these videos to exist in the first place, and it's very, very much appreciated, and also the plush is just amazing. With that said, I'll be back with another new video very soon, and until then, as always, thanks so much for watching this one. I really, really appreciate it, and I will smell you guys later.